Good morning. I do not have a voice this morning, but I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in. Good morning. Good morning. Come on in, Instagrammers, Facebook, YouTube. My voice is completely gone, um, but I'm going to try to talk as long as I can. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Unique Bless. A cup of tea from City of Angels, LA. Good morning. Good morning. He's so unique. Chef Denise Bradshaw. Good morning, Yana Lee. Good morning. Y'all, my voice is completely gone. So let's see how much I can do it. Sorry, I haven't been on live. I've had so many interviews on the days that I go live. And, I was out of the country. I literally just got back last night. We were celebrating my husband's 50th birthday. So I have been screaming and dancing. And so I don't have a voice today. But nice to see you guys all. Good morning, Olalua. Um, Good morning, Heavenly on YouTube from New Jersey. Jacqueline. Good morning, Deanne Skepla. Good morning. Chaz says, looking beautiful today. Thank you. I feel refreshed from my trip. Just lots of good vibes, good energy, and being able to come back to work. I mean, I'm sleep deprived today because we got back at night last night, but I'm here. Um, Okay, let's jump right into it. For those of you tuning in for the first time, or if you don't know me, my name is Aisha Chidole, and I'm an immigration lawyer, and I represent clients all over the United States or internationally with immigrating to the United States. We handle family-based immigration, whether that's through marriage, sibling, parent. We handle humanitarian cases like VAWA cases, which are victims of domestic abuse, T visa cases, victims of human trafficking, labor trafficking, U visas, which are victims of serious crimes, and then, of course, your typical marriage-based case, appeals, requests for evidence, notes, and all of that good stuff. Good morning, Tamika. If you'd like to schedule a consult with us, our number is 407-995-6567. All right, so let's jump right into it. Jacqueline, thank you so much. Jacqueline Friend says, I must say you're a very good immigration lawyer. Thank you so much. And a special shout out to one of the people that follow me on that comes on my live. You work at the Atlanta airport, and I remember you told me that you watch me every day. So shout out to you and give me a shout out. That was nice to see you at the airport. Someone says they have a question. Can I ask it here? So definitely you can ask it. Every Phil says, can I apply for a sibling? Well, it depends on what your status is. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can apply for an I-130 for a sibling, and you have to wait until the I-130 is approved before they can then apply for a green card, and that's all going to depend on where they are, whether they're outside the United States or whether they're inside. Of course, siblings take a very long time. Like it could be anywhere from like 16 to 20 years. So it really just depends on where your sibling is. They don't want to have overstayed their time by the time they're ready to process them. Okay. Eyarm says, we've missed you for 2 weeks, or is it just me? Good to see you. You look beautiful as always. Oh, no, yes. I've missed you guys. So, yes, I have been out of the office. Like I said, I have had a lot of immigration interviews, which all fall like around when I would go on live, like on Tuesdays. And then I was out of the country. So I got back last night. Yeah, so... okay, April says siblings in Haiti. Yeah, so you can file the I-130, and when the I-130 gets approved, they can send it to the consulate. But that's kind of the timeline you'll be looking at. Okay. I applied for my I-485 visa marriage in February, and I still haven't gotten any update. Should I be worried? I did file under F1 already, did the I-130 interview and got approved. No, you shouldn't be worried right now. There's quite a delay in receipt notices. With the shortage of staff and them letting go all these people in USCIS, We're just seeing like an incredible amount of backlog in getting receipt notices for cases, and especially cases where there is no fee. It takes me back to COVID times, like cases where there's no fee for them to make, like those end up, guys, I'm gonna try my best. My voice is like gone. I'm really struggling, like talking right now. But cases where there is no legal fee for USCIS to make, those ones are taking the longest time for them to give receipt notices. So, like, if you're doing like a T visa, U visa, you know, applications, you're going to see it's going to take you a longer time to get your receipt versus a marriage-based case. Although the marriage-based cases are still taking a long time, so just be patient. We're literally seeing like a 12-week wait, which is kind of insane because we're not going through COVID, but there's just a shortage of USCI staff. I'm sure you guys know everything that's going on, in the country. So just be patient. I wouldn't be worried right now. Okay. All right. Let me try to take some questions on Instagram. Is it possible for a minor to come with her tourist visa and stay on the territory while her immigration process is being completed? Well, Daisy, I'll need to know a little bit more. What are they applying for her? Is it a U.S. citizen applying for the child, or is it a green card holder applying? I just need to know a little bit more to be able to answer that question. Okay. Let's see what else. How long does it take to have your kids with you, ages 6 and 9? If you're talking about your kids being outside of the U.S. and you're talking about consular processing, then are you an LPR or U.S. citizen? Because that determines also with the U.S. citizen, you're looking at anywhere from like 24 months to like maybe like even 30 months, again, because of the delay, because usually the I-130, it takes about 12 to 14 months here in the U.S., and then they transfer it to the National Visa Center. And that takes like maybe a couple of months, 2 months, get documentary qualified, and then you wait for an interview. So depending on the country you're from, that determines the timeline. But I always say a realistic timeline is about 24 months for consular processing if there's visas immediately available to the children. If it's an LPR, you're looking at a longer timeline. Right now, they are I think the visa bulletin is on. I would have to check because the visa bulletin changes every month. So I don't think I've checked. I know that we're on February, the process in February 2020 for. Actually, you know what? Let me check while I'm here so that I can give you guys the correct information. So just give me a second so I can pull up May's bulletin and tell you. So right now, if they're outside of the country, they're still processing cases from January 2022. But if they're in the country and they're in status, they can do the adjustment because they're taking anyone that has an I-130 that was submitted before February of 2025, which is really great. If you're here and you follow, because that has really moved up because, we were stuck in 2023 for the longest time. So that's new. All right, let's see what other questions here. As a victim of domestic violence, do you have to be married to file What if it was just your girlfriend? So if you've experienced domestic violence and it's just your girlfriend, some of the things that we want to look into, you cannot file a VAWA application, definitely. But one of the things that we can look into is if you're eligible for a T visa. T visa where domestic violence will count would be in situations where you're experiencing kind of like domestic violence in the form of like labor trafficking or sex trafficking through your spouse or your domestic partner or girlfriend or boyfriend. An easy way to explain that is imagine like if you're in a relationship and the person is basically pimping you out and it's like, no, you need to go work here. To be able to stay in this house or stay in this apartment, you need to sleep with me when I tell you. Whatever paycheck they give you, you need to pay it. Your job while you're in this house is you need to make sure the house is tidy all the time. You need to make sure like you're cleaning this, you're doing that. Basically, like you're a labor worker and you're there for the sex or to provide that, privilege to them. So in that case, you could be eligible for a T visa. But in order to get VAWA, the domestic violence with your partner has to be a spouse or an ex-spouse, as long as it was the divorce happened, you filed before the 2-year anniversary of the divorce. Hope that was clear. Okay. Someone says my cousin did her asylum interview and still didn't receive her decision. It's been 3 months. Honestly, I don't do asylum, so I don't generally like to discuss asylum or anything that I don't take because it's not useful to you, you know. Okay. VAWA has been pending since 2022 April. I got made appear faster determinations. Only update I got was I-485 got transferred to another office. I thought I-360 gets approved before I-485 has an update. Not necessarily. They could still transfer. That means that they're probably in the process of making a decision on your case, and hopefully it is a positive one. You are within a normal timeline for processing. You just hit the 3-year mark. So you should probably have a decision forthcoming very soon. Someone is asking how much for consultations. It's $150. Okay, let's see what else we have. Let me take YouTube. Good morning, attorney. Have you started seeing 2022 VAWA applicants get approved? Honestly, I if I tell you that I know, I don't. Like, I would have to go look at all our approvals to see what dates, because I don't really pay attention to that, because I don't think it's good to necessarily compare yourself to someone else's case, because every case is different. Some people have RFE, some people have NOIDs, some people have just different things that make their case move faster. Some people, everyone has a different officer. So you're better off just going with your own timeline, based on when you filed and what they're saying. It is probably likely. Most likely we probably do. It's just that I can't tell you offhand, because we do get a lot of approvals, and I don't sit down and say, let me look at the dates of the approvals. The only time that I pay attention to approvals, or I might post like an approval, is where it's an extraordinarily short timeline, where like either my staff says, we just sent this case out. We have that I-751 that we sent out. I-751s normally take like 2 to 3 years, but the person was approved in 3 months. So like something like that is where we'll pay extra attention. But otherwise, we just receive so many of them that it's hard for me to just sit down and just start looking at dates. Okay, what happens if your RFE you get an RFE notification, then a cancellation, but only the initial RFE notice came in the mail? So you just want to wait to see if you get a cancellation, because if there's a cancellation, you'd usually get the cancellation, but it will come after the RFE. So like a few days, a week after. So just wait in the mail. And if it doesn't come like after a week or a week and a half, I would recommend giving USCIS a call to find out if that RFE has been canceled or if you should proceed with it. Okay, hello, I have DACA with approved advance parole. My VAWA just got approved. I did not send the whole package. Can I still use my AP with DACA, or just wait and send my AOS? Thank you. So right now, that's actually a very good question. So for those of you who don't know, like for DACA applicants or DACA recipients, all DACA recipients have entered into the country initially without inspection, meaning cross the border or no proof of entry. And when you have an advance parole, it allows you to leave the country and then enter properly. And then, if you're a VAWA applicant and you are approved, it really doesn't matter how you came in and entered into the country or not. Like, if you get approved for VAWA, you'll be eligible even if you entered without inspection or if you entered with a visa. So in your case, and because of the climate right now, honestly, I don't necessarily recommend traveling when you don't have to, or where you might be subject to a potential issue. So because you have an approved VAWA, my recommendation is file your I-485 so you can get approved for your green card. Because the AP, which is advanced for, is kind of like obsolete now. If the only reason for you to do that was to be able to do an adjustment of status, but since you already have an approved VAWA, you can then just do the adjustment of status, and still get your green card that way. So hope that makes sense. Okay. If my son is convicted for criminal trespassing, will that affect filing his I-485? His I-360 has been approved. Yes, it could affect it. It just depends on when, what the police report is saying, what is his what is his time served, or whatever. Basically, I need to see it. Like I can't tell you just here. I'll need to see what it is and when it was. With VAWA cases, they want to see good moral character for 3 years prior to the application, and definitely nothing while you have your application pending. So it all depends, and it all depends on how one can explain it. Was the case? Well, he said he was convicted, so it means that he was found guilty, I'm assuming. Been married since March 2024 and submitted documents 1 year later. Now my husband is MIA. What do I do? Well, obviously, that paper without any other application or a continuance will not be valid anymore because you won't be able to attend the interview with him. So I would recommend consulting with either an attorney here at my firm or wherever you choose to see if you're eligible for VAWA based on what is going on in your marriage. And if you are, then you can then convert that case. As I said, guys, I am struggling with my voice right now. Like, I lost my voice this weekend. Someone says, case was transferred to an office with a different jurisdiction after it was approved. I don't know what kind of case you're talking about, but if it's for VAWA, that's normal. So normally, you submit your VAWA case to Nebraska, and then it's transferred to Vermont, who makes the decision on VAWA. And once VAWA's decision is made, if you have an adjustment of status application, they will then transfer that to whatever state you are in for them to then make a decision on the green card or invite you to an interview, because you're not going to be going to Vermont if you don't live in Vermont. Okay. Realist West, good morning. What if a woman was married to give someone papers, but they're divorced and they're still going to file that she's cheated? Can she still remarry and file for someone else without being affected? I don't understand your case, but marriage fraud is a bar. Like, if you've committed marriage fraud, you cannot get a green card anymore unless the only category would be if you fall under UVs and you're working with like law enforcement. So I'm not really sure who's the person that's committing the fraud. Don't really understand like your question. Okay, let's see. If my VAWA has been approved, what should I expect in my green card interview? The VAWA interviews after after you've gotten your 360 approved are really going to focus on your I-485 form. So they're going to be asking you a lot of questions about your I-485, like any criminal records, how do you enter the country, where do you currently live, do you still live with your spouse? What are the kinds of questions they ask? But really about the 485, they don't ask any questions about the abuse as long as the VAWA has been approved. And they don't generally also ask you any questions really about the good faith marriage, because they've already determined that you have a good faith marriage. You've already been a victim of abuse. So these interviews tend to be really quick. If you're divorced, make sure you're taking your divorce decree with you. Also, make sure you're also taking a marriage certificate with you. But they're going to want to know like where you live, if you're still living with the person and all of that. So those are the types of questions they will ask you. My friend came in with a K1 visa. Her fiance doesn't want to marry her anymore and is asking her to go back to Nigeria. And she's been here for 2 months. What option does she have? Her option is to go back to Nigeria. If she stays here, she's not going to be able to adjust her status. because that's the contract agreement of when someone enters with a K1 visa, that the only person that can sponsor you is your fiance who brought you here while you're here. Otherwise, you have to go back. And then if you meet someone else while you're back there and they apply for you, then that's fine. Now, if she was married to the person and the person was abusive, then even if they don't sponsor her, we can do a valid application. So fiance visas are very they're not my favorite visas. I think most of you that have been here for a long time would know that. There was a time where it made sense because of how quickly people were able to enter, but the penalty and power is too great on the U.S. citizen that a lot of people end up getting screwed over if they enter and that spouse chooses not to marry them or uses that as a weapon towards how they treat them. So it's not my favorite. I mean, people do it because they want their partners to be here quicker. It just really depends on, your own circumstances, but there are not much options, available. Like even if they qualify for VAWA, for example, with another spouse, like let's say they met someone else and married the other person, even if they get approved for VAWA, they can't adjust and get a green card because they didn't leave the country. You have to leave the country. My husband is a U.S. citizen and I'm a green card holder. We're thinking of adoption for my baby sister. Would it be okay if she overstays her tourist visa while we start the process? The adoption is a little bit complex, so it's not one that I can answer here. It's going to take a lot of my time, but you definitely want to consult with the lawyer before you allow her visa to expire because there are very many nuances related to adoption. What country you're from, is it part of the Hague Convention? There's just a lot of nuances on there. So, and possibly other options that might be better for her, including SIJS. But so you want to definitely speak to a lawyer before you do anything. Okay. Is it the same office for I-485 for VAWA? No, I think I mentioned this earlier. So if you listen to the live again, you'll hear when I talked about it. Hey Tifa Toon, what's up? Tifa Toon actually planned my husband's destination birthday party. My husband turned 50, as some of you guys probably saw the post. So we went to St. Lucia to celebrate his birthday, and Tifa Tone did an amazing job planning it. So follow her. Let's see what other questions. What's the update on dual citizenship travel? There's no updates. There's nothing going on about that. You can read my or scroll through my timeline. I already did a video on that. And like I told you guys, I don't have time to talk about things that are not relevant to what I'm doing. You're a citizen, so it's not relevant to me helping immigrants. I'm helping those who don't have papers, not those who are citizens. And there's no update. U.S. allows for dual citizenship. You just have to find out the country you're from, which this administration didn't change that. That has always been there, where some countries don't allow for dual citizenship, but the United States allows for dual citizenship. So guys, try to stop over consuming all of this fear mongering and all of the stuff that's going on. Just go about your day, doing what you normally do. Just stay out of trouble. I think that's the biggest thing that I can advise any immigrant client. Don't put yourself in a position where you'll be arrested or a cop is going to stop you for any reason and you don't have your papers. If you're very heavy on the political movement right now, you have an administration that is not allowing for due process, with certain cases and, to a certain extent, not allowing for freedom of speech when it comes to pro-Palestinian, anti-Semitic stuff. So if you are someone who is subject to deportability, just maybe keep it within your home. Your friends, don't put it on social media. Just be careful, don't allow, I don't even know what to refer to this administration, which of course is very demoralizing, but just avoid anything that will put you in a position that will threaten your status here if here is where you want to be. Okay. Okay, I can take one more question. I have a green card holder from VAWA. My ex-wife, no, I have a green card for my VAWA. My ex-wife green card holder. Ugh, I can't understand what you're writing. I have a GC from VAWA, my ex-wife GC holder. When can I apply for citizenship? I need to sit down and do the calculation because typically, it's the normal way is that your spouse was a U.S. citizen for 3 years. You had your green card through VAWA for 3 years, and then you can apply for VAWA for 3 years. So it just depends on what your wife's status is now, and how long ago did you get your green card to do the math. Okay, guys, I gotta jump off. It was nice seeing you guys again. I'm so sorry that I can't get to all the questions. Knock on wood, I don't have any interview on Tuesday next week. I would have to check my calendar, but I'll be on live. Or maybe I'm going to have to change the time of my interview to like a nighttime or something because all this morning interviews are messing up my flow. I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Bye.